Hey, this is Dan. We're back again for another episode of Mastering Collectify. Today we're going to talk about maps. Maps are an extension of the marketplace, and they provide a unique way to display your holders and whatever they want to show. So I'm going to show you what I mean before we get into it. I'm going to go to Mathverse. Mathverse launched this with their first collection, the lands. So if we go to the map, you can see here how they've chosen to do it. So rather than a map, this formed as a grid. Okay, now what you can do is you can see how many people who've been engaged enough to decide to actually upload an image. You can see in one case, there's this green one. This person has decided to, one, collect a lot of them, and two, spend the time to populate the board. You can see other people have used an image of CZ. I don't know if that's him or not. And then somewhere around here, we've got mine. There's me. Now, what you can do here is you can actually upload any image that you want, right? Even though the land, the NFT associated is this one here, I could upload anything I wanted to. I'll talk about this a bit later. But that's just one way of doing it. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to do this real quick. It's quite straightforward, but there are some considerations you may want to make if you're going to build a map collection. We're going back to create a marketplace once again. Going to use a name. Going to do the land theme, so we're going to use the word estate. This stuff can be edited later. The difference today, we're going to do this one. Have an NFT contract address. This is a pro feature, and as I mentioned before, if you want to get on a Collectify Pro, you need to just get in touch with us. Drop the Collectify main Twitter account at DM, or you can email. All the information's at the bottom. So the contract address, so we're going to pull that from the contract, obviously. This needs to be correct. We are going to designate the token. This is, again, as I mentioned before, an opportunity where if you have a project-specific token, maybe you launch that later, but you can choose to use it here. We're just going to use BNB for now. This cannot be changed, and this cannot be changed. However, you can create another one of these in the future at any time. I'm going to set the trading fee to be 0. And here we have it. Now, much like before, we're going to update the theme to match the rest of our collection. But this is where we can now select map. And with this in mind, it's going to ask you the type of map you want, whether it's an ID-based map or an XY axis based map. If you choose an ID map, it's going to ask you for how many boxes, as in how many individual NFTs in each row. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. This is good if you do not have X and Y axis traits in your metadata. For example, I made 756 pieces. Mine would be 36 across and 21 up because I wanted it to be rectangular in shape. But if you wanted to do the X-axis and the Y-axis, you need to reevaluate what you're doing with your metadata. What I mean by this, trait type, X-axis, X, whatever you want to call it. This changing, by the way, because I have a random algo for allocating and populating these fields. Don't worry about that. We're just looking at this, right? So I could call it Y-axis or whatever I wanted to, okay? And then the grid axis is what you want it to be. So the grid axis, that's going to take a little bit of thinking about, because what do you want to do? This one is split into 4 quadrants. So 1, 1 is right in the middle. Or do you want it to simply be 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and so on? Okay, you need to think about this, and then you'll need to put it in. I can recommend working with GPT if you're not particularly maths minded. It's actually quite good at working out little things like this. You can also ask it to provide you with a formula for Excel to have Excel automate the function for you, or Google Sheets, or whatever spreadsheet you're using. Okay, so with all of this done, you can then go back to your marketplace and start populating this. So the trait type is X-axis, and the minimum that I want to do is 1, and the maximum I want to do is 36. Now, for me, I haven't done this, and I've actually just gone down the ID route. The only thing I want to note here is that the number will start with 0. So if you want 36 boxes in each row, the final box will be 35. So what you need to do with that is your first one, so this was number 1, needs to actually have the ID of 0. This is the name of the NFT that will show up at the marketplace. I actually would recommend, if you have something like this, numbering the name, because you want to make it as easy for your follower as possible to understand which number NFT they have. We're just now going to select save. The rest of this is all the same as last week. You can connect it to other marketplaces in your ecosystem. You can allocate other people to co-manage it. These are the elements that you can change. You can change the trading fee at any time. You can update the social connections in the Discord. All of this stuff is editable. Okay, now we're going to click through. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that the data will take about 24 hours, depending on the size and scale of your collection, to update. So right now, because I've just created it, unfortunately, none of these will show up. So I'm going to drop back in for another recording in about, hopefully less than 24 hours time. So I'll see you then. And we're back. Okay. So it didn't take very long at all, just about 25 minutes or so. And we have everything refreshed. The marketplace has been populated. And as you can see, the 100 NFTs that I minted from this collection have now appeared. So how does this relate to the maps? Let's go have a look. Now, if we click back through here, we come back to the map feature, the grid, and you can see I've put a couple in already. So you have to manually do this, right? And because I only minted the 100 top ones, right? The first 3 rows of the map have been minted. The rest aren't, so this is why we're getting this little error message, okay? Now, what I've done here is I've gone, okay, this is number 76. I own it, which means I'm allowed to connect a site URL, or I can upload an image. Okay, for example, I could connect my Twitter, so anyone who's in the project with me can find a way to connect with me. Or if I'm wanting to promote something, I can do it that way. For example, one idea could be like using this as a digital billboard or real estate. It's whatever you want to do. The idea I have for this as a concept for a game would be that people would want to connect with each other in order to potentially trade lands with each other. So for example, if you have 4 next to each other, you can unlock this new feature. That's something that I would build in at a later date. So I'd say to people, hey, if you want to be reached by other people in the project, you can either use your Discord username or your Twitter, and you can find ways to connect with other people. If you need to buy token ID number 101 because you're trying to create a line so that you can build a town, for example, right? You see where I'm getting with this? So the other side that you can do is you can upload the image which exists in this square. Okay, at the moment it's defaulted to gray nothing, but we have ID 75. So I'm just using my resource here of every single NFT in the project. If you wanted to do this, or you instruct your followers to do this, you would just say, go and right click save your new NFT and upload it. And you can see it's in the box. Okay. And here we are, 99, 98. You see this is starting to look like some land. This is some number 62, which is actually 63. This is all down to you, what you want to call it and number it and everything like that. Okay, I'm going to upload this, and this one here, 64, and this. And you see how we're starting to actually build a map with this map feature. So this is a very interactive idea, okay? The thing you want to do here is be in pretty decent communication, perhaps using the holder system, which is coming up in the next video, to talk to people to get them to populate it. Or, as with the Mathverse example, you can just be completely open and allow people to do whatever it is. It's whatever you want to build with it. You can also turn this off at any point, okay? Now, here's a bit of a reveal of what's going on with this idea for now, and the idea in the end is I'm gonna show you now. So I'm gonna just give you a sneak preview of the final outcome. I've designed this all on Adobe Illustrator using artboards, exporting all the artboards as individual pieces, and then uploading them all with a logical progression of file names through AWS. I learned to do all of this in an afternoon, again using GPT. Honestly, it's just really perfect for giving you a walkthrough on these things. If you have access to the tool, I do recommend using it. I've created this map. little fantasy map. These are all kind of heritagey sounding names for me and my culture. Pretty fun. Obviously the first 100 are mostly water. I would maybe come back and change this because these are going to be a lot of kind of useless, worthless NFTs. I know, we'll see. And the part that I've revealed so far, this top little corner here, corresponds with this bit, you see? In theory, if we got everyone to engage in the project properly, we would end up with a populated map of this whole land. And you see, we can go from there. Of course, this idea would be predicated on everyone taking part. I quite like the idea that some people won't, and you'll have gaps and blobs missing, and there's something about the human experiment of it all with that. But if you just want to use this as a key little feature, power to you. Break this open and find something interesting to do with it. I welcome anyone to, and if you do something cool with it, please get in touch and share with us. Okay, so that's gonna cover it, I think, for today. With that, I'm gonna leave you to play with this new tool, and we'll be back next week to talk about Holder, which is our system for allowing you to communicate and connect with your audiences. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.